Hello everybody, this is GeekyAviseq once again from here in Dallas, Texas, and today I'm bringing you a quick review of the Pixel 4a. Today is September 30th. I wanted to do this review because Google just had its device event today and they introduced a bunch of stuff including two new phones. One is the Pixel 4a 5G and then the Pixel 5. They are expensive, much more compared to this variant. So I wanted to do this review as well as include a comparison of my Pixel 4 XL, its bigger brother, one of my favorite phones, as well as the iPhone SE 2020, which I had for about 6 months, and compare it with the 4A. So if you were looking at any of these devices, probably this video will be helpful for you. Okay, in terms of pricing, Google really kept everything very simple with the Pixel 4a. It's only available in one variant, so only one color option, which is this black. It comes with 6 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigs of internal storage. So before you get into the detailed review, let's take a quick look at the specifications. First, let's start with the physical aspects of this phone. So 5.8-inch OLED display. It's 60 Hz, no high refresh rate display, fortunately. It's FHD plus with a pixel density of 443. It does support HDR and true blacks. In terms of raw processing power, it's powered by the Snapdragon 730G and then the Adreno 618. In terms of battery, it's powered by a 3140 milliamp hour battery, which supports fast charging, and an 18-watt charger is included in the box. It does also have dual stereo speakers. It also supports USB-C audio, but guess what? They have included the standard 3.5 mm headphone jack in the phone. For some reason, I don't know, it's not focusing. Okay, and then in terms of the cameras, you have the front punch hole camera. It's in terms of hardware, it is exactly identical. Both the front and the back camera is exactly identical to that from that of a Pixel 2. So 8 megapixel f2.2 front camera, and then 12.2 pixel dual pixel f1.7 camera for the rear. The phone has a rear mounted fingerprint scanner, so they got rid of the LiDAR sensor as well as the other infrared camera for face unlock from the more expensive Pixel 4 edition, and instead they went with this fingerprint scanner, which I think is welcome because most of we have to wear a mask these days, and it's just more convenient to use the fingerprint scanner than having to punch your code each time when you are out there and wearing your mask. Okay, so what else? And in terms of the build quality and stuff, so the front glass is Corning Gorilla Glass 3, and the rest of the phone is made of polycarbonate, so that's how they have kept the costs down. And I already mentioned it comes with 6 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigs of storage, and it's running Android 11. So now let's get into the detailed review. So first, let me talk about the display. So overall, I'm very happy with the display. I mean, it gets plenty bright. 443 pixels per inch is actually pretty sharp, and then good part is that it's an OLED display, so the colors are much more vibrant and the blacks are much more deeper compared to an LCD display. The only thing that I wished was if the display size was slightly larger at maybe at least 6 inches, and since they didn't had a Pixel 4a XL version, so I would have preferred a slightly bigger screen. But other than that, even though this is not high refresh rate at 90 Hz like the Pixel 4, the more expensive Pixel 4, but for a budget device, 60 Hz, but a good panel with good color accuracy, good brightness, and 443 pixels per inch is definitely a good screen. No complaints there at all. Now let's talk about the cameras. Okay, so usually when we talk about the cameras on the Pixel, we kind of generally assume that they have the best cameras out there, which is true for it comes to still photography, not the video, and in general applies to the more expensive Pixels like the 4a. Even though the camera hardware in this phone is exactly identical to its more expensive brother, the Pixel 4, I felt from all the sample shots that I took that the photos from this 4a was slightly worse than the ones that I got from the Pixel 4 XL. I don't know why that is. Maybe due to that this doesn't have the Series 8 processor, or it doesn't have the neural core processing core here. And then it is also evident, so for still photography, if you are shooting HDR plus, you can see there is a considerable lag in processing the HDR plus photos. So what happens is, like, I'll give you an example. On this weekend I went out for jet skiing with my friends, and I was trying to shoot my friend who was on a jet ski. So I was trying to shoot in a burst mode, but soon, like after 3 or 4 shots, the shutter completely locked, and I wasn't even able to take any more shots. But that didn't happen with the other phone that I, which is my daily driver, the Samsung Galaxy S20. I was able to take so many shots even in HDR mode. And even with my Pixel 4, which is, I never hit a limit where I would just, on burst mode, if I have HDR plus enabled, it won't hit a limit so fast that after 3 or 4 shots, it will just, there would be like absolute, the shutter will start lagging and eventually would even prevent you from taking any more shots. But that did happen with this phone. I know it's unfair to compare a $350 phone with $900 Pixel 4 XL, or even $1,000 Samsung Galaxy S20. But I wanted to put it over here is because if you go to the rest of the reviews, everybody just talks about what all good, how amazing this phone is. Then nobody talks about the actual drawbacks, or lets how to set your expectations in reality, what the $350 phone is giving. So people, it's not, companies are not stupid. There is a difference between $1,000 phone and a $350 phone. And even though when it comes to this phone, even though they have the same exact camera hardware, there's also difference in the image processing when they have opted with the cheaper components, like the Series 7 730G versus the 855 or 865. And when they get rid of the neural core processing, the Pixel neural core processing, which also helps to enhance the image processing. I don't know the exact details, but those two are missing, and that's, I'm attributing the difference in the image quality because of that. But now the other thing is, but does that mean the camera is really bad? No. Actually, the quality of the camera on this phone is so good that it can come face to face with some of the other flagships. And so now, I mean, if I were to compare the camera on this one to that of a Galaxy S20, or even the Pixel 4, or even the newer Note 20, Note 20 Ultra, I know the price difference, but I'm just going to say that this is not the camera king. In fact, if I was to, compare the cameras across all these phones, there wouldn't be a clear winner for me, because what I have felt is, depending on the composition and depending on the situation, each phone has its own strengths and weakness. Some of the photos, there is not one undoubted winner in every category and every situation of photography. But overall, for $350, it's hard to match a camera that you find on this Pixel 4a. But I also wanted to mention that the camera is slightly worse than that of the more expensive Pixel 4 or Galaxy S20. I know it's kind of, you might think, well, I mean, of course, that's common sense. This phone costs so much lesser. It would be worse than $1,000 phone. I know that, but I think there's a lot of other people. The way, since this is a Pixel device and since the camera hardware is the same exact that of the other Pixels, there would be certain people who might assume the quality of this camera is as good as the Pixel 4. It's not, but it's not too far from it. It's just slightly a notch down. And then in terms of the performance, when it comes to HDR processing, this phone is a lot slower compared to the more expensive Pixel 4. Even though it is obvious in the difference in the price range, it might not be so obvious because people go by specification, and the camera specifications in terms of hardware are exactly the same between the devices. Now, what about video? Ever since the Pixel 4 days, Google has massively improved its video quality, but videos are not anywhere close to that you can shoot from an iPhone. So if you are into videos, this $400 iPhone SE is what I would recommend, because this takes a lot better video than this $350 Pixel 4a. Now, but are the videos too bad? No, they are definitely much better and usable, and it's a massive ever since the Pixel 4a, um, or ever since the Pixel 4 days, I think Google did an incredible job and improved its video quality by miles ahead. So if you had a original Pixel 1 and then the Pixel 2 or even the Pixel 3 and then you had the Pixel 4, you would see how much of an improvement happened. And then some of that improvement also translated to the Pixel 4a, and the video quality on this is decent. But if I was to buy a phone, if I shoot a lot of videos, I would say while this is really good when it comes to still photos, it's not the same performance or the quality you don't get when it comes to video. This is one of the top cameras, smartphone cameras, when it comes to still photography, but it's not one of the top when it comes to video photography. So that's probably the best way I can put it. Now, in terms of processing, I don't play any games, so I cannot tell you the difference between my Galaxy S20 with the Snapdragon 865 versus the 730G. But I did notice there is a slight lag in the processing power. It's not to a point where I can say the apps are unresponsive or they crash or they hang, nothing like that. But it seems like everything, general UI navigation to opening up it's a little bit slower compared to the experience that I got on my Pixel 4 or even the Galaxy S20. And then another aspect is if I was using my iPhone SE 2020, because Apple decided to power it with the A13 Bionic, which powers the iPhone 11, and that's the most powerful chip that Apple has made, except for the one that's coming out on the iPhone 12. I never faced any performance issues with the iPhone SE 2020, but I had an iPhone 11, and then now I was testing the iPhone SE. Between the iPhone 11 and between the iPhone SE, I didn't see a starking difference in the performance, but I did see that difference when it came to the Pixel 4 versus the Pixel 4a. The Pixel 4a X, the Pixel 4 XL the UI seems a lot more smoother. Okay, so I have to click twice to have the keyboard show up, which wasn't the case on the Pixel 4a, the Pixel 4 XL. So I will show you the general navigation speed. So as you can see, going through every menu, there's like a split second delay. Because I wanted to review this, I'm going to take you through all the menu options out there. So let the camera focus. So on that, you have these things. So that's about it. Now you show you the Pixel 4 XL so that you can see how smoother this UI is. See how fast this is. I mean, it might be due to that, this has a higher refresh rate and the 8 series processor, but just wanted to show you a comparison. And then once you go up and hit search, you can see the keyboard pops up immediately. Now I have talked about the camera, I talked about the performance, let's talk about the battery life. Uh, the battery life is actually pretty amazing at 3140. It's not a big battery; it's a smaller battery, but so is the resolution at five. So is the screen size at 5.8, at FHD plus resolution as well as 60 hertz, and all of that seems like helps the battery last longer, and of course the overall optimization. So in terms of battery life, it is as almost as good as the Pixel 4 XL, which has a much bigger battery life. So that's incredible considering this is a $350 phone and it has a much smaller battery versus the $900 Pixel 4 XL. So in comparison to the Galaxy S20 for the same usage, you know, I would have to charge the Samsung Galaxy S20 at least twice during a 24-hour cycle, versus I can get away with this one by charging it once. It is not as good as that of a iPhone 11, where I can charge the phone 100% and start the day, and then go all the way till 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. and then plug it in the charger. So this one will probably last me until around 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. So definitely the battery life is really good for such a small battery size. Talk about the sound quality. So dual stereo speakers gets plenty loud, and in fact it's a surprise because many of the flagship phones also have a single firing speaker versus dual stereo speaker setup. So thanks to Google for actually throwing it out there. And the loudness, it's slightly lesser compared to that of the Pixel 4 XL or the Pixel 4, but very close to it. Decent loudness, so no complaints when it comes, and I really appreciate having the stereo effect with the dual speakers. So talked about the screen, have talked about the camera, talked about the performance, talked about the sound quality, talked about the battery life. So what else is left? So the build quality. So how did Google reach the point of $350? So obviously, from this $900 Pixel 4 XL. So even if I had the Pixel 4, which was $800, $100 less than that. So from $800, how did Google, what did Google change to make it a $350 phone? First one, they skimmed all the premium materials. No glass back, no Corning Gorilla 5, no LiDAR sensor or infrared camera in the front. So all of that, and then no official IP rating for water and dust resistance, no wireless charging, like Series 7 processor versus Series 8 processor, no pixel neural core processing for enhanced images, and in terms of RAM, actually this is better. It's got 6 gigs of RAM versus the 4 gigs on the Pixel 4 XL. So that's that, and then slightly lower resolution screen, lower refresh rate, and then smaller size, and everything, like smaller size battery, smaller size screen. So that's what, but overall very I good phone, well rounded overall, and that is probably the reason why all the reviews are speaking highly of this. I don't think if you buy this phone you will be unhappy, unless you are coming from a flagship phone, and then you might see the differences. But if you are just a person who doesn't have a very expensive phone or is not coming from a flagship phone, I think this will suit you really good. Now let's talk about compare this with the iPhone SE. So in some regard, I feel like the concept is kind of similar. This is Google's attempt to bring people into the Android ecosystem. The whole concept of the clean stock Android and the concept of Pixel, where you get the latest version of Android for just at a starting price of $350. The iPhone SE 2020, on the other hand, is Apple's way of getting people into the Apple ecosystem for just $400. I really love this phone, and because in terms of this maintains a lot of things. Apple's approach is very different than Google. So what Apple did was they took the iPhone 8, which is still a premium build quality because this does have the official IP67 water and dust resistance, also has wireless charging, glass back, so aluminum body, so it is premium in terms of the build quality. In terms of processing power also, this is powered by the fastest processor that Apple has available in the market, the A13 Bionic. So what compromise did Apple do? I think the biggest compromise is the form factor, and because of the form factor, the battery size. I think that's the thing which kind of crippled this device. And if it was me, I would go prefer the Pixel 4a, even though it doesn't have the premium build quality, it doesn't have the same performance level, top tier performance level. um, just because it's much more usable. 5.8 inch is much more comfortable than the 4.7-inch screen, but that's my perspective. I would rather have a bigger phone. In fact, I was wishing this could have been a 6-inch screen versus a 5.8 inch. So 4.7 inch with the amount of the chin and the bottom that you see, that kind of bezel, for 2020, I think it's kind of hard. So if Apple would have decided to take the iPhone 8 Plus and put the A13 Bionic on that and still priced it at $400, and then I think it would have been a complete winner and made every other phone run for their money. So that's all, guys. That's pretty much everything for this Pixel 4a. And Google's like do check out Google Store and look out at the newer Pixel 4a 5G and the Pixel 5. I seem to be very interested about the Pixel 4a 5G because seems like they kind of address some of the shortcomings or the complaints that I had with this device. Now they have an upgraded Series 7 processor with 5G capabilities, also 6 gigs of RAM, and then actually a bigger screen size at 6.1 inch, bigger battery. So I think and then also another wide angle camera. So I think everything that was missing from the Pixel 4a, they kind of addressed that in the Pixel 4a 5G. But it's also a bit more expensive, $150 more at $500 versus the 350 on this. But definitely interesting. It would be interesting to see how it will do in the coming days. So that's all, guys. That's pretty much everything for this reviews. Hopefully this video will help you decide between the devices. And if you find this video useful, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Also like and share this video, and if you have any comments or questions, do leave them below and I will try to answer them as soon as possible. I'll see you guys in the next video. Till then, have a good one. Bye.